How do you create something that's different than everyone else? You do it differently than everyone else. Here at Copeland Creative, we specialize in telling captivating stories of wild people, wild things, and wild places. We don't just capture the story, we immerse ourselves in it. We are a diverse, multi-talented media house based in North Georgia, and if you have a story that needs told, we want to help you tell it.
What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Redneck Tech Podcast, the Copeland Creative Podcast. I haven't quite decided what it's going to be called. I think it's still the Redneck Tech Podcast. Maybe it's Redneck Tech Podcast presented by Copeland Creative. Anyways, I am your host, Ryer, aka Red Velvet. You may notice, the astute observer may notice, I am once again wearing the same shirt that I have been wearing in the past two podcasts. And that's because this is my podcast shirt, or my only shirt. Or we did 3 podcasts in a singular day. You may never know. But anyways, I don't know what number this is. But we have a very special guest on today. We talked to Chris last time, and now we are talking to Luke Noffsinger. Say hi, Luke.
What's up, y'all?
He's not going to like what I say next.
Uh-oh.
But I have to say it.
Go ahead.
Everybody in the office has a nickname.
Yeah, I don't like what's going to follow this.
We have nicknamed Luke Giggles because of his propensity to break out into fits of laughter. Sometimes he can't stop.
Yeah. I could think of worse things to be given as a nickname, though.
Oh, yeah. I've been given them worse things.
Yeah, I have too. With a last name like Noffsinger, there's a couple that come with that.
What's the worst one?
I don't know if I can say it on this podcast, Ryer.
Okay, what's the worst one that you can say on the podcast?
I don't know. Snot Slinger is one that's pretty common.
Snot Slinger.
Yeah.
How did you get that? Just because it rhymes, or were you...
Yeah, it just rhymes.
You weren't particularly snotty?
No, sir.
Was that from Sir?
Sorry, dude.
Is that from, like, other kids, or did you get that?
No, it was a grown man.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, Luke is, I wouldn't say brand new here. When Caleb and I were going through the calendar, you started last year on September 2nd.
Yes,
which September seems to be about the time everybody seems to start. But you have been here almost, 10 months now?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. It's been a good time. You've gone on a lot of trips, done a lot of edits. But today we're going to talk about a little bit of that, but mostly about you, your background, what gets you fired up, all that kind of stuff.
Sweet.
So tell the people a little bit about yourself, Luke.
All right. Well, I'm Luke Noffsinger. I was originally born in Ackworth, Georgia, but...
Really?
Yeah. I was born there, and when I was like a year old or something, my family moved to Montgomery, Alabama, and that's where I was raised, and I lived there up until about 10 months ago whenever I moved up here. I grew up hunting and fishing with my dad, primarily whitetail and turkeys, and a lot of pond fishing. None of that stuff out in a boat on the big water. Not a huge fan of that.
What do you consider big water?
The ocean.
So, have you been on a boat in small water?
Yeah.
Okay.
A John boat.
John boat.
Yeah.
Not a Henry boat.
Don't try to get me fired up.
I'm going to get you going at some point so people can see where the nickname comes from.
No, it ain't happening. I'm locked in for this one. But anyways,
He's not locked in. I'm looking straight at the camera. I can tell you with certainty he is not locked in.
All right. So anyways, I grew up hunting and fishing. Let's see. I went to college for 2 years at the University of Montevallo. I shot collegiate archery there, and I went into it as a graphic design major. Sorry, that's not funny.
He's locked in.
Yeah.
See what I said about being locked in? He's locked in, folks.
My freshman year, I went in as a graphic design major, and I was a part of a program called the all right, we're gonna have to cut this part. All right.
We're not cutting.
I'm editing it. I'm gonna cut it.
There's no editing.
So,
Nice thing is I have the switcher. I just cut back to myself whenever I want to talk.
all right. I was a part of the Outdoor Scholars program there, and I did like a social media internship my sophomore year, and I swapped over to mass communications as my major. Originally, I knew I wanted to do like social media management in the outdoor industry, but really didn't know what that looked like. And so, as I was doing graphic design, I was like, man, going through the art program there, I was like, man, I don't need to do a painting of a dog with an umbrella in its mouth slipping on a banana peel to like prove how good of a social media manager that I can be. So
Is that like a real painting that you had to do?
not exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was some odd stuff.
That was a very specific example.
Yeah, there was some pretty odd stuff though. But anyways, so I swapped over to mass communications with a concentration in broadcast production. So that's where I really like got to learning about the exposure triangle and learning about, basically cameraman 101 type stuff, and being able to apply that into, filming my own hunts and filming stuff for the Outdoor Scholars program and all that, which I knew that's what I wanted to do once I made that swap over to mass comms. And then after my sophomore year, I realized if I'm wanting to go into the outdoor industry, I don't necessarily need a degree. What I need is experience and to build my portfolio. And so I decided not to go back. And that was a big kind of leap of faith for me because I didn't have anything lined up. I just decided not to go back. And I actually worked as an electrician the summer after my sophomore year. And so wiring houses and wiring attics in the Alabama heat was no fun. And I decided really quick that I needed to figure something else out. And that was really rough. And then actually through one of the administrators of the Outdoor Scholars program, he reached out to me and was like, do you want a job in the outdoor industry, like traveling and filming hunts? And I was like, dude, tell him I'll be there. He's like, wait a second, like, I ain't even told you where it's at. You might have to move. I said, dude, I'll move to Alaska and I'll cut off my pinky toe if it means that I can get to film hunts and not have to be wiring attics anymore. He's like, all right, well, I just know that this production company in North Georgia is looking for to potentially expand their team. They've done work for like Lee and Tiffany with the Crush and Rainbow Bikes, stuff like that. And so he gave me Caleb's email, and I reached out to him, and then I don't know, it was maybe we kind of emailed back and forth for a couple of days, and it was like, hey, can you come up here and, have an interview type thing, send him my resume and portfolio and all that. And came and talked with him, accepted the job, and he was like, yeah, we need you up here in like 10 days. And so I had 10 days.
Pretty typical.
Yeah. So I had 10 days to find somewhere to live and move up here and get rocking and rolling. And I've loved it. It's been awesome. I learned more in my first like month and a half of working here than I did in my 2 years in college. And so I have no doubt that I would much rather be doing this than sitting in a classroom and collecting student debt and having to deal with liberal arts teachers. Yeah, I've loved it, dude. It's been great. I've learned so much and had a lot of experiences and gotten to meet a lot of people that I know that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise without moving up here and without working here.
Heck yeah. So good. You told that very well.
Thank you.
I feel like usually if I have to tell my origin story, it's long and convoluted and really not very exciting for anybody.
Yeah.
That was much better than mine was or is, will be.
Well, thank you, Ryer. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I had a question in my head. Now it's gone. Oh yeah, you wouldn't even be graduated now yet, would you?
No, so I'm only 21 at the moment. And so I will, if I was still in school, I would just about be ready to start my senior year of college.
You could be in school right now. Well, you'd be on summer break right this second, but
Correct.
do you think that you would have, like when we've talked about it, you said that the stuff that they had you doing was like really basic?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it would have been more advanced, or you think that?
No, I mean, I don't know. I definitely don't think that if I would have continued and gotten my degree after, 4 years of being there, I don't think that I would know even half of what I know now. Like at this point, like this very day, I don't think that I would know even, I wouldn't start after I graduated knowing even half of what I know now with only 2 years of school. Um, I don't know. It was all very like very, very elementary stuff. I mean, obviously, I tried. It's kind of you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So, trying to make my edits and my filming and all that kind of stuff more complex. Um, but again, a lot of it is focused more towards your like journalism and like if you went to film for a news crew or more studio based stuff and
Mhm.
like they don't give you a course of okay, well, how do I do this, that, the other filming from a tree stand? It's, definitely a lot different than that. And so I would have definitely learned, but it wouldn't have been stuff that directly correlated with going into the outdoor industry.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I found, because I don't have a degree. I did not go to college. I've taken no classes.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's the same kind of across the board. I know Clay has taken a lot of classes,
Hmm.
but he'll kind of echo the same thing that you're saying. And a lot of guys that I talk to, whether they have or have not taken courses and done college work, a lot of them say the same thing. It's like you got to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's probably pretty similar to a lot of career paths.
Yeah.
But this is definitely one of those where, especially in this industry specifically, uh, like you got to get out there and do it because there's so many scenarios, there's so many situations, there's so much nuance, especially to running a camera in the hunting industry that like they just can't teach you in school, and you have to go do it either by yourself and screw up and figure out how to not screw up next time, or do it with people who have done it before and have them tell you how you're screwing up and how to fix it. And usually that pathway is a lot faster.
Hmm.
And, you learn what's directly applicable to what you're doing every day, as opposed to learning, like you could learn how to switch cameras on like a board, like for broadcasting. But I mean, I don't know that you really need a whole class. Like I'm doing it now, and I just have two buttons.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy. Like I Googled it probably once for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
Um,
But not even like from running it, not even from running a camera, but even editing. I mean, I understand that a lot of my growth of being an editor has been time in the programs of just reps, just cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. But I don't know. There's stuff that I'll do it, and you're like, "Why'd you do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know any different." And you'll show me a shortcut or how to make a multicam sequence, and I'm like, "Dude, that would have taken 2 minutes in a class, and it would have saved me so much time to know that coming into it." And even like the keyboard shortcuts, is crazy how much time that'll save you once you know it. And I feel like for school, you can have a daggum vocab quiz on what's the Y shortcut and what's it mean.
mhm.
Learn it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know that I've had multiple instances with you where I'm like, that's crazy that I didn't know how to do this, and it's something so simple that would have saved me so much time, even up until now, it would have saved me so much time just to know that. Um, and that's been very, very helpful.
Yeah, I would say the only reason I know those things is because I would do them the hard way, and you just try to brute force your way through something. And then I'd be like, there's got to be, like, this can't be the way that we do this. Because, like, this is something that editors have to do all the time. Like, there's got to be an easier way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And you go on Google and you search it up, and some person on Reddit has had the exact same problem and has asked the question like, how do I combine 2 clips into 1 clip so that I can cut between them?
Yeah.
And some dude will write like a paragraph and explain the whole thing. You're like, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I needed. And I'm still to this day learning those kind of things.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people ask, like, how do you get to be a good editor? How do you get to be a good cameraman? How do you get to be a good producer? And I think Caleb and I have talked about it. They all want like the easy answer, where it's like, hey, do X, Y, and Z. And all of a sudden, like you're going to be filming for Discovery Channel.
Yeah. They want a quick fix.
Yeah. And the reality of it is there's not a quick fix. Like the path to that is the same as if you want to get good at an instrument, if you want to get good at sports, like you don't just suddenly wake up one day, tweak a couple of things, and you're Michael Jordan.
Right.
Like you got to shoot baskets, you got to take swings, you got to throw the ball. Like it's the same thing with editing and cameras. Like the more time you spend shooting, the more time you spend editing, and especially combining those things together, the better you'll get.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think sometimes with school, especially, like I basically learned this full time. Like I was part-time for a little bit and then just jumped into it. And once you go full-time, you're spending 40 hours a week trying to figure out how to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in school, you're spending a couple hours a week. And so you multiply that over 52 weeks a year and multiple years, you reach that quote unquote 10,000 hours a lot faster.
Right.
And there's really no shortcut around it, and that's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And just keep doing it. Yeah, we've come a long way, Luke. We have the first. I just switched to you so people could see your face.
They don't need to see my reaction. I think I know what story this is.
No, I think the first month. I think Luke deleted probably at least 5 timelines. Just lost them entirely.
Yeah,
they were just gone. And I'd go into his office because he'd be working on a video, and like it was taking a while. And I'd go and be like, "Hey, where you at?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm just working on it. Like, show me what you got." You're like, "I can't." And I'd be like, "What do you mean?" You're like, "I'm going, man, this guy's slow, dude.
Yeah.
He's really slow."
Which, to be fair, though, I was slow. And I know I'm still slower than I would like to be now. But back then, it was really slow, so it really hurt whenever I accidentally deleted timelines.
Well, yeah. Everybody starts slow. I remember, like, my first edits, that were 5 to 7 minutes long. Like, that was an insurmountable task. Like, I was editing, and it would take weeks. I remember it used to take 2, 3, 4 weeks to put together like a 10 to 20-minute thing for YouTube. And now I can do it a lot faster. So that the speed is normal, but then I'd be like, well, why, what do you mean you don't have anything? Like, how can we do this? And he's like, well, I don't know. I lost it. Like, what do you mean you lost it? I don't know. I came and opened up Premiere today and I couldn't find my sequence, or I couldn't find my project.
Yeah.
And so we had to go through a few iterations of how we save things.
Yeah.
How you organize it so you don't lose it. And I don't think you've lost one recently.
Yeah, not recently. But if this ever happens to you, and I'm looking straight at the camera for this one, what I found was my issue is in my timeline, I would hit the I key and then the O to see how long that chunk was or whatever. And then I would move way to the left and start working or whatever. And then instead of doing Command Z to undo, I would fat finger it and I would Command X. And so that's deleting whatever is in that, in and out, whatever you want to call it, in between those 2 points. And I didn't know that. And so I'm way over to the left and can't see what's on the right that's selected. Mm-hmm. And then, because that was the issue too, is it's like I didn't know how long ago I had deleted it, and so it was so far back that I couldn't just undo my way until it brought it back. But I've definitely learned to clear my in and out points. If I want to measure that, all right, I see how long it is, and then I get rid of it.
Yeah, I would say what I've learned to do, because I've definitely lost projects and timelines and clips and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am fastidious about backing my stuff up. Like
Yeah.
every day that I work, I duplicate my timeline at the end of the day and save that in a folder called old sequences. I save it there. Then I go and I duplicate my project and name the date and then put that in a folder on the server wherever the project is saved, in a folder called sequence archive. And then I take the working version of the folder or the project and I put it in Google Drive. And Google Drive actually saves a version history.
Mm-hmm.
And so between all of those things, the most that could happen is I'll lose a day's worth of work instead of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days.
Right.
And then every time I start doing something new, like maybe I cut a scene, I'm like, I don't like this scene, but I want to recut it. I save it and put it in a sequence archive, and then I cut a new scene. And that way, if I ever need to go back to it, I have it. Or when I start a new process, like I'm done rough cutting, now I will go and start like doing changes and getting it all together. I make a copy of the sequence as it was in the rough cut. That way, if I mess anything up when I'm doing changes, I can go bring back like the sections that got messed up. Same with
Right.
color and sound and graphics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that helps.
And I've started doing that as well here of late. I know that we had a come to Jesus meeting about saving stuff in the Google Drive, which I've been better about in case I do end up deleting something on accident. But
It does help.
yeah, for sure. But going, like you said, it's like, okay, I've done the whole rough and we've sent it to them. Okay. Then I'll duplicate the sequence and make their changes, or I'll make a new sequence for sound and color, make a sequence for graphics or whatever in Final to have all those different ones. Has definitely been beneficial, especially if you send them a rough and then they want these changes. You make the changes and they're like, oh, well, I actually liked that one section better from the original. And it's like, well, if you didn't duplicate it, you just saved over it basically. And so then you're having to do it again, which is not fun
No,
at all.
it is definitely not fun.
Yeah.
Having to redo work you've already done is like a kick in the nuts. Like, I already did that. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah. It's no fun. Yeah, we've learned a lot, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate your patience over the last 10 months.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. Now you get to redo it all over again whenever we bring on some new people.
Well, I'll have to start training AJ a little better.
Yeah. He's getting there, though.
Yeah. Well, you've been helping AJ a lot. I have been involved in too many edits, so I've been kind of had my head buried in a computer.
Yeah.
And I definitely need to get him all trained up. But Caleb and I talked about it earlier. When he and I first started out, like at Copeland Creative, obviously both of us had been doing this for a certain amount of time. Both of us shot, both of us edited. It was really just us two. So it's like, okay, Ryer, you go shoot this, and when you come back, you bring it here and you edit it. Same thing with Caleb. Every once in a while, we'd have to like hand off projects, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Now we've got 6 guys working on projects. We got the guys here at the office, and then we've got Joe and Chris who are in different locations, and that adds a layer of complexity. And also, as we've grown, I've had to step into a head of post-production role, which is not something that I had ever prepared for. Certainly, it's been new to me. It's kind of been like 2-ish years I've kind of been trying to figure out how to do it. And part of that is figuring out like, okay, when we get new guys, how do we train them to make sure that they, know the things that I wish that I knew when I was like brand new, so that they don't have to, make all the same mistakes that I made.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Get them up to speed faster. And then how do we put systems and processes in place to make sure that everybody's rowing in the same direction, that all the projects are getting done, that all the footage is staying organized and backed up, that we can hand projects off to whoever they need to get handed off to. And that as a company, especially post-production related, because that's really where I try to focus, like how do we continually try to step up as a group and make ourselves better? And it's that's been a whole new learning experience. I think learning to edit is, I wouldn't say easy, but it's easier in a sense because it's just me. Like I'm just teaching myself how to do things.
Right.
Once you have to learn how to manage a team of people and then also train a team of people, now you have to start figuring out, okay, how do I teach people all the things that are in my head? And how do I, which is a lot of things. I have a lot of things in my head. Luke can tell you.
Oh yeah.
Like how do you teach that and make it digestible so that somebody can actually learn from it? And how do you make it repeatable so that everybody is getting the same information? And then how do you make sure that, because the main thing, one of the keys for me with learning things is I want to know why. Like math was always difficult for me because they just give you a random string of numbers and you're like, okay, why do I need to know this? Like, what is the practical application of this? If you give me the practical application, I'm like, okay, I understand why we're doing this. But if not, it's hard to wrap your mind around a concept when somebody's just like, hey, do it this way because this is how it's done. You're like, okay. So trying to impart okay, this is how we do it and this is why we've decided to do it this way. And so the past 2 years has been me trying to figure out how to do that. And it is definitely a learning process. It's much easier when you just are yourself. And it's like when you, like if I wanted to use DaVinci, it's just me. I just go use DaVinci. It's no big deal, right? But like here, if we want to use DaVinci, well, what kind of implications does that have for the company as a whole? How does that change all of our workflow processes? How do we get everybody up to date on DaVinci?
Right.
And like, I know Premiere really well because I've been working in it for almost 10 years now. I don't know DaVinci very well at all. And so if I'm supposed to be the guy who's like, okay, this is what we're doing, well, I have to know how DaVinci works and I have to know it better than anybody else from the onset so that when things go wrong, I can go, okay, yeah, that's how we fix that, or this is what we need to do here. So that's been a learning curve for me, not just on the technical sense, but the people sense. I'm a little autistic, so sometimes the relating to people is a little harder for me, as far as just being like not an autistic person about it. Luke can tell you. Sometimes I'm just like, this is just how it is. Okay. No further questions.
Yeah. I don't know which something that we talked about, I don't know, it was probably a week and a half ago or whatever, is again, kind of about making that transition of whenever I got here, I didn't have bad habits established necessarily. Like I didn't come from working at a different company where we did things a different way. It was, you were like, hey, this is the way that we're going to set up folder structures and we're going to organize, our bins and Premiere and this, that, the other. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's how we're going to do it because Ryer said that's how we're going to do it. And I wasn't having to like reteach myself as if I'd been doing it differently before. And I think that definitely helped like make that transition smoother. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, it's tough when you have ingrained habits. Like I definitely have habits and things that I do a certain way. And, I think it's hard in the creative sense because, everybody's got a different approach to how they do things.
Right.
Like I hate picking up anybody's camera who's not my camera because
That's
all
fair.
their buttons are in weird places. Their stuff's in weird places. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And so I'm not as good, even though it's the same camera, right? It's the same FX6.
Yeah.
But I'm not as good with it as I am with mine because I know my camera. It's the same with editing. Like people have a certain way that they like to edit. And there are some things where it's like, okay, there's a solid reason for doing this way. And mostly that's organizational. Past that, it's kind of like whatever works. You know what I mean? And every edit's got kind of a different vibe to it. Like some edits, you don't really need a whole lot of organization. You just throw the stuff in there. You got like 15 clips. I mean, you're not going to lose them. There's only 15. So it doesn't need a whole ton of organization. But you take something else where it's like 5 terabytes of footage. Well, that has to be really well organized or else you'll never find anything.
Yeah.
Or this one has interviews, so you have to go about organizing it a little different. Or, this one's really chronological where this project is not as chronological. So how you organize it and tag it and log it and do all that stuff is different than how you would. Or, like if I shot it, I know everything that's there. If I didn't shoot it, well, I don't know what's there. So you have to go through a whole different process.
Yeah. And the first time that I really understood the importance of organizing footage was the first time I was handed an edit that had multiple cameras, like a hunt where there's multiple camera guys that are all filming different guys at the same time. And that was one where I was like, oh, buddy. Yeah, we need to make sure that this one's organized because it was a beast.
It's a bear.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think my ultimate goal when it comes to organization, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, is I want to be able to package everything that I've done up. And at any point, I can give it to somebody and go, okay, finish it. And I can get on a plane and fly to somewhere with no service. And they don't have to call me and ask me, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've definitely been handed timelines and footage, and I know
Of mine.
Yeah, well,
off the rip.
not just yours, just like definitely in the history of editing that I've done, and anybody who's edited for any period of time will relate to this. You get handed something like, "What am I looking at, dude? Like, what did you do to this thing? Like, what? It makes no sense." You're like, I have no idea, and it's like halfway done, and you're like, "Oh yeah, just finish it." And you're like, I don't even know how to finish this. Like, I don't know where these things are. And then most of the time I just go, I'm just going to recut it. I got to just reorganize it and recut it.
Yeah.
But anyways, we didn't come on here to talk about organization. This is one of the pitfalls you'll find is if we start talking about organization, I will keep talking about organization.
You'll take it and run.
Yeah. Where do you, this is the clunkiest segue ever. Where do you find creative inspiration? Like what types of things do you like to watch, consume to get your creative juices going? The camera's on you.
That's fine. Well, you and Caleb are not going to like this answer because I do not watch a lot of TV or a lot of movies and series. Like I couldn't tell you the last time that I was on Netflix or anything like that to watch a series. It was probably in Caleb's truck whenever we were driving back from Florida. He had dadgummit. I don't even remember what it was called.
Is it Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah. That, and isn't there one called Newsroom or something?
Oh, yeah. Did he make you watch the Newsroom?
Yeah.
He loves that show.
I know. He made sure to tell me multiple times on our 7-hour drive. But anyways.
It is a good show.
Yeah, it was good. But anyways, I just don't do a ton of that. And I don't know if that's more of my generation. I mean, I know that a lot of...
Yeah, we haven't talked about this. You're 20. We will talk about this.
I'm 21.
21.
Yeah. Put some respect on my name, dog. Come on now. But anyways, I mean, I definitely find myself more on... If it's long form, it's definitely YouTube more than it is some kind of streaming service or something like that. Mm-hmm. And, just scrolling Instagram or TikTok or whatever it may be. I don't know. I like to think that I get a lot of inspiration from music, I guess. I mean, obviously not editing, oh, that's a cool shot, I want to try it. But I've definitely since I've been working here, especially if I hear a song, I'm like, ooh, that would be cool on this kind of edit, or oh, this makes me think of XYZ. If I'm trying to portray this feeling or this whatever during this scene, I could use a song like this. Is kind of something, I guess. I don't know.
What kind of stuff like on YouTube do you watch specifically? Because Chris said the same thing. Chris is kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
He doesn't really watch TV. He doesn't really watch movies. He really likes YouTube. He said he likes to go kind of browse around and just look up like short films and likes to watch those, and not necessarily in any genre. He just likes to gather a lot of like inspiration and see what people are doing out there and see how that relates. But like, do you have a specific type of stuff that you watch on YouTube?
Not necessarily. I think that it's more of, a lot of it is definitely outdoor based content, or it's more like production based as far as they're teaching something, like it's very educational. Whether it's a camera breakdown or whatever, just I'm trying to learn as much as I can from it, more than I guess like an entertainment standpoint, I guess. And then as far as like on social media, it's just kind of like different content creators that are kind of still in the same outdoor realm, but trying to see the stuff that they're doing. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I want to learn how to do that. Or they, whether it's a Premiere tutorial or whatever it may be, that's generally what I'm consuming for inspiration, I guess. So nothing super groundbreaking, I'd say. I have started watching a little bit of Yellowstone, though. It's been pretty good.
I've heard it's good. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I have a weird thing where I don't like to watch shows that too many people have watched and like overhyped.
Yeah.
Like I didn't watch Game of Thrones for a long time because I was like, I don't know. There's so many seasons.
Yeah.
And it's like you get into it, you're like, man, I don't know if I really want to dedicate that much time to watching a show.
For sure.
And then sometimes it's like people have been like, man, this is the best thing ever. You got to watch it. And I watch it. I'm like, that was not that good. I'm really not very impressed with that.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, man, I don't want to watch it. I kind of hold off. So I would say that's kind of where I'm at with Yellowstone. I did watch Game of Thrones, and it certainly lived up to the hype. I would say that it was very good. Like I was binging it.
There you go.
I'm sure that probably if I watched Yellowstone, it'd probably be the same thing.
Yeah.
But I also think Yellowstone's like kind of almost overhyped to the point where it's become cheesy now. Like how much people like Yellowstone. I have somebody out there who's going to hate me for saying this. I have a problem with people who put the Yellowstone brand on their truck. I know that's a real specific niche.
Yeah, you're going to get some bad emails or some hate mail coming into the office here for too long.
Probably. That's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, hate mail is still mail, dude.
That's right.
If you take the time to write me a letter and put it in the mail and send it here, you paid for that, I will respect that hate mail. It doesn't mean I'll like it, but I will respect it.
Mm-hmm.
I might keep it on file just for those days I need a little extra oomph. You know what I mean?
We'll put it on the fridge in the office.
Yeah.
For everybody to see.
I would love to get some hate mail, but like genuine hate mail. I don't want you all sending me like some fake hate mail. Okay. I want it real hate mail.
Okay.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
No threats, because I will call the cops, or maybe I won't. Don't put a return address on there. I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like I see people driving around with like the Yellowstone brand on their truck. I'm like,
yeah,
that's not your brand, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I think to me, it feels like brands are very, not sacred, but they should mean something.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like if you have a brand on your truck, that should be your brand or your family's brand, like something with heritage. It's like, because, a brand is supposed to represent a family or a ranch or something with heritage. And I feel like just slapping the Yellowstone brand on there is like, you want to be cool and you want to feel like real Western, but like, Bro, you're in North Georgia, dude.
Yeah.
And
your jeans are tied around your calves, okay?
Yeah, and it's
I can see your ankles.
It's never a cool
You're
truck.
you're not a cowboy dog.
No, it's never a cool truck. You're like,
yeah,
that's a Nissan. That's a Nissan truck, dude. But anyways, I mean, maybe somebody out there's got a cool Nissan truck. Potentially.
Probably not in North Georgia though.
There is there is a truck here. It's like a bone stock Nissan truck.
Mm-hmm.
And it on the back of it, I've seen it twice, and Cleo's seen it. So it like the owner lives somewhere up near us, but it says "Daddy's money" on the back of it. I'm like, "Daddy's money for a Nissan truck, dude." Like, good for you. I'm glad you got a truck from your dad's money.
That's a weird flex.
It is,
but okay.
You know.
Okay, dog.
Like if you're out there pimping with a, like a big old diesel truck, lifted, nice tires, like LEDs, head rack, all that stuff, bumpers.
Yeah.
Okay. Daddy bought you that? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, he did. That'd be like me putting daddy's money on the back of my 1991 Ford Ranger. That was bone stock, and I never did an oil change to it.
Never?
Well, I did.
Oh, I thought you meant like whole time you had it, you never.
No, I had it for multiple years. I definitely did oil change. Not to the frequency I should have.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about Rangers. Yeah, you gotta.
That's right.
You don't really have to.
Yeah.
It's
the beauty of them, man.
Well, it's like it's already a POS. So what if it makes another weird noise? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as the sun gun's still running.
Yeah. If it starts making a noise that sounds too expensive for you to fix it, you just got to turn the music up a little louder.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the first truck I bought. Bought it for $1,200 cash.
Really?
Yeah, drove that thing for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
It was a single cab, manual transmission, no power, nothing. The speaker on the driver's side used to go out like once every 2 or 3 months. I don't even know why. I'd have to take the door off and then like rewire it, and then it would run for a couple months, and then it would go out, and I'd have to ride with the one speaker, no air conditioning, because it was from Colorado. So like people in the 90s didn't have air conditioning. You really didn't need it. I mean, it doesn't get that hot in Colorado.
Yeah.
I was driving around in California at 110 degrees.
Golly.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
55 miles an hour downhill. That's all she gave. I had a couple times I almost did not get up a hill.
I believe it.
But I wish I still had that truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get rid of it or did it break down?
No, I gave it away.
Gave it?
Yeah.
For free?
Yeah. Well, so when I started working, like when I got the call from Caleb, my mom was like, didn't want me to drive the Ranger all the way across country.
Yeah.
Like she just felt it was unsafe. I was like, I've been driving it everywhere else. But so she got me this F-150 from auction. I was like, oh, hell yeah, cool. So I was like, well, I can't bring both of them. So I'll bring the 150. And she knew of like a kid that he was like, I don't know, probably 17, 18, like needed a truck to get back and forth to work, didn't have the money to buy one. And I was like, man, I spent $1,200 on it, drove it for, 5 years.
Yeah, got your money's worth.
Like it wasn't clapped out, but like, it's at this point, it's an old truck.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do? Charge him $1,200? Like, I got my money out of it. Might as well give it to somebody who needs it, and hopefully they'll get their money out of it and they can upgrade when they need to.
Yeah.
So maybe it's still driving around. Maybe it's in a scrapyard. Who knows? If I could find it, I would ship it back here.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'd drive that sucker to the office. It's a little hilly around here for that.
Yeah, with the way you drive, I don't know if you'd want to whip that sucker around Dahlonega and Dawsonville.
It certainly wouldn't whip. It would go. I don't think it'd whip.
Yeah. Very valid.
I had another question for you, and now I can't. Oh, you are a musician.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Would you like to talk about that?
Sure. Let's see. I play a handful of different instruments. I started off as a drummer, Back, I don't know, I was probably 8 or 9 years old, which I come from a very musically inclined family. So
I'm just getting this image. I forget what movie it's from, but there's like it's a family in a car, and it's a shot from the windshield, and you can see them, and they're like 3 kids,
yeah.
and they're like just singing a cappella in the car on this road trip. Is that is that? Did you guys ever do that?
No, and the reason why, okay?
That was not a no. We didn't do that. That was a
I didn't do that.
no. Well,
Well, listen, all right. So what happened was I was not birthed with the ability to sing very well. My dad can sing very well, and he plays guitar. My mom can sing. My sister can sing super, super well. And I was not gifted in that way. And like, thought I was tone deaf for a long time. Like, it was real bad, like, really, really bad. And so, growing up, I didn't sing, and I started like hitting pots and pans in the kitchen with wooden spoons. And I was like, this is cool. Like, I like doing this.
yeah.
And it just kind of like transitioned into playing the drums. So, my dad, like I said, he sings and plays guitar, which he was in a
I was about to say.
band called Big Mama Pearl back in the day. You can look him up on, I think it's Reverb Nation, actually.
I didn't know that they had music online.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We'll have to listen to it after the podcast.
I'm about to listen to it on my way home.
Yeah, they were a Christian rock band called Big Mama Pearl.
I saw the pictures.
Oh, dude, my dad.
Your dad was pimping, dude.
Absolutely.
He had, well, was it like 2000 and something?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
No, it was late 90s probably, because I was born in 2004, and it was before my parents got married. So,
Damn. He could have been a rock star.
I know. Well,
And you had to come around.
no, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
And he was a good father and got off the road.
No. So, if I understand the story correctly, they had the record labels like on the table, and basically a very short period of time before they had to decide which record label that they were going to sign with, they were just kind of like, yeah, I'm done doing this. Like, they were all ready to go settle down and start their own families and that kind of stuff. And so it just kind of like went away.
Dude, they could have been like Toby Mac.
Yeah. Or like DC Talk and
Yeah.
some big bands, man.
Mercy Me.
There you go.
Yeah.
You've been doing your homework.
They used to be all I was allowed to listen to.
Yeah. And so, anyways, with all that being said, growing up, my dad was always a worship pastor at whatever church we were at the time. And so, singing and playing guitar. And I was like, whenever I started showing interest in drums, I would go with him to church on Sunday mornings for like Sunday morning practice. And I would just like watch the drummer. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And I was like, man, like, I really want to get into that. And we were at a church in Prattville at the time, which is north of Montgomery. Anyways, the drummer there, he was like 18. Like, I don't know if he was in high school or in college or whatever, but anyways, he was always like super nice to me, and I thought he was just like the coolest guy ever. And he gave me a pair of drumsticks, and like
Nice.
a practice pad, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna freaking do it, man. And so, yeah, I started kind of learning, and I got an electric kit for Christmas, and my dad taught me the like beat. And then I kind of taught myself everything else from there, from watching YouTube and just listening to music and dissecting it, of like, okay, I hear it now, how do I make those sounds, pretty much. And by the time I was 9, I was playing in the adult worship band at the church with my dad. And I did that. I still play even at a church here in Gainesville. I play with them. I play drums. Backtracking, I picked up the guitar in 8th grade. I just wanted a new like musical challenge, pretty much. And so I asked my dad, like,
I have no idea why that would happen.
yeah.
Looks like everything else. Let me check both cameras. Yeah. Just roll with it.
Anyways, so I asked him if he would teach me like a couple chords, and he taught me to play "Zombie" by the Cranberries on guitar, and you can play the whole song only using 2 fingers.
Really?
Yeah. And so he taught me that, and then from there, again, I YouTube Academied that thing and kind of taught myself, and if I had a question, I'd go to him about it, and that eventually transitioned into learning to play the bass and the ukulele as well.
I didn't know you played the ukulele.
Yeah. Not very often, but I can play it.
Do you bring it to the beach with you?
I have before. It's actually back at my parents' house at the moment in Pike Road, Alabama, but yeah, I can pick it a little bit.
I think you need to take up the banjo.
I would love to learn the banjo, dude.
I think it'd be sick if you could shred on the banjo.
Mm-hmm. That would be really cool.
I mean, we're in banjo country.
Yeah.
We're at the base of the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachians, as they like to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, learning the banjo would be sick. Either that or I need to learn like the saxophone or like a cool instrument,
The saxophone is a
Yeah,
cool
dude.
instrument?
Yeah. I think sax is pretty cool.
You trying to bring back Kenny G?
Sure. Whoever Kenny G is.
How are you gonna be like, I want to play the saxophone and not know who Kenny G is?
I just think it's a cool instrument, dog. I think it would be cool.
If you learn the saxophone, we're recreating the Epic Sax Man video.
Okay.
You know which one that is?
Negative.
You've heard it.
I'm sure I have.
I can't recreate it because obviously I'm a human and not a saxophone.
Sing it.
Well, it's not. You can't sing this. Like sing a guitar solo, dude.
Oh, you can like
That's
the
true.
shredding.
I mean, if you do karaoke and you karaoke Hotel California,
Yeah,
the guitar solo in the middle is still part of the karaoke.
absolutely.
Like if you don't sing all the notes, then what are you doing?
Yeah. Why'd you even pick the song at that point?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole. You have to sing the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
But
So karaoke, sax man or saxophone man or whatever it is.
no, it's Epic Sax Man.
Oh, okay.
I'll show it to you. It's
Okay.
funny.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, maybe you could just integrate that into the church worship a little bit. See if you could do a couple like sax solos in there.
That would be sick.
It would probably work well, like I don't know. I feel like vibes wise, it would definitely, you could do it like in the prayer section.
Well, we've done it.
Like when the pastor comes out and then most of the band leaves except for maybe like the keys.
Right.
And they do
Just
like
kind
the
of-
long melodic.
Yeah, padding underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you just snuck a sax in there, I think it would. Yeah, I feel like it would just kind of ruin the moment a little
It
bit.
might. I've played with some saxophone players. We did it not too long ago at my church here in Gainesville, and dude was shredding. He had like a little mini saxophone.
Oh yeah,
Dude, he was ripping it. It was awesome.
dude. There's you ever heard of ska music?
No.
It's
What's
like
that?
it's
Is that a genre of
yeah.
music? Okay.
yeah.
Ska.
You've probably heard ska songs, but it was more popular like when I was in middle school or high school. It was kind of like an indie genre.
Okay.
But usually like they'll have like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's usually kind of just a random mixture of different instruments. It's kind of like if you took a regular like symphony and then a rock band and like smashed them together a little bit.
Oh yeah. Then yeah, I'm sure I've heard some
Yeah.
ska music.
Yeah. I don't know any ska artists, but I know what ska sounds like. But you've definitely heard it. So maybe it would have that kind of vibe.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
I think you should do it.
Yeah. I think so. And then we can have us a little ska band in the office because Chris plays drums.
Yeah, I meant to talk with him about that on the podcast, but then we got talking about other things.
Yeah. We were bonding on our way back from a video shoot a little while ago. We both also like heavy metal music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we were both like air drumming in sync to not to the band in sync. We were air drumming at the same time to some heavier music. Yeah, just by his boom boom chicka chickies on the steering wheel.
You could tell.
Yeah, homie's got chops.
Yeah, I need to pick up probably an instrument.
Yeah, you can't just sing, Ryer.
I can and I have.
Well, do the people of the Redneck Tech podcast know that you can sing?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, if y'all didn't know, Ryer can sing. Oh, Red Velvet.
yeah, I mean, I feel like they know that I did show choir.
Yeah.
Like, I don't try to hide it. I know some people would try to hide it.
Yeah, I would try to hide it. The show choir people that I went to middle school with were a little
Well, yeah.
odd.
I mean, yeah. But I also did like JROTC, and I was in all the nerdy like AP classes. So
Yeah.
it's like at what point am I going to hide the entire history of nerddom that I've had? You know?
I guess.
But I always feel like I was like the cool one.
Yeah. Well, you played sports at least.
Yeah. I was kind of like I was like, had my hands in like all kind of different groups, but never like fully in one. Cause like I did show choir, but I wasn't like the top show choir dude.
I got
And I played football, but I wasn't like the top football guy. And like I did ROTC, but I wasn't like the top ROTC guy, which that's usually like an Eagle Scout dude who takes it way too. Turns out, I guess I'm hitting the chord with my feet. I liked choir though. I think choir was fun. Like,
Yeah.
I have zero embarrassment about doing choir. I mean, I know people are like, choir's only for girls. I don't think that's true.
No.
I mean, here's the deal.
Drop some knowledge on me.
I'm just going to give you all a little, like, for those of you who maybe are, you know, starting to like girls, okay? Choir is largely, especially in high school, mostly made up of girls. Like, it's 90% girls. So if you can sing and you go into choir, I mean, you're in a target-rich environment. And if you can sing, the girls who are in choir and like to sing like men who can sing. You know, like here's the deal. I see this on TikTok a lot. All of the actors that all the girls fawn over, those were choir kids and theater kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't get some of them, obviously, but like these famous people who are making a living acting, a lot of them have theatrical or musical theater backgrounds. So like they were the weird kids and now they're just hot and in movies.
Where'd it go wrong with you, Ryer?
It didn't. You just don't like large bearded men, which is fine.
Yeah, I guess. Not my type.
But, hey, can't be everybody's type, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyways, I liked choir. It was fun.
Yeah, I did band in middle school. I went to it's called a magnet school. So like you had to audition and stuff and like test in to even be a part of it. And I did visual arts, so like painting and all that, and percussion, which I've been playing drums since I was 8 or 9, but I didn't know how to read sheet music. And so they put me with like the beginner classes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, ended up going through like percussion ensemble and yada, 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 whatever. And so I learned how to like read the sheet music and all that, which definitely helped. But I just play by ear now. I don't do all that sheet music stuff.
That's how I always.
Birds.
Yeah, that's how I always was. Like I was never. There was a lot of kids who were a lot better technically. Like you could just give them a starting note and then the sheet music and they could sing it. And I was like, nah, let me hear it, and then like I can do it.
Yeah.
Because like I went to, I'm sure all states have this, but like the all-state choir auditions.
Yeah.
And I literally passed everything with flying colors as far as like my audition song and like being able to hear the music and recreate it and all that stuff. But I did not do very well on my reading sheet music. And so I did not get into Allstate. So had I known how to read sheet music, I probably would have gotten into Allstate, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So that's where it went wrong. If I would have got into Allstate choir, maybe I would have gone to Juilliard. I could be on Broadway right now.
Or you'd be acting, dude.
Yeah.
You could be in a movie. Instead of producing movies and films, you could actually be acting in them.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, that seems like the gig, man.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah. Well, because
Learn a couple lines and just recite what you've memorized and a little fake tear.
Yeah, I can't do the fake tear though.
No?
I mean, maybe if I had some training, I could.
Yeah.
But I can't do it.
But if you really put your mind to it, then you can probably figure it out.
Just think of something really sad.
Yeah.
And maybe cry. But anyways, there is, I've read that a lot of editors have musical backgrounds.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely need to be able to at least count to 4 to stay on to stay on beat.
Yeah.
Which I know you start running out of fingers.
Right.
Once you get past 4, you start getting into some complex time signatures. But yeah, I mean, to be able to like learning how to end a song or whatever and cut to beats and all that kind of stuff, you definitely need to have at least some, not necessarily musical background, but have at least a little musical bone in your body, even if it's just in your pinky toe.
Yeah. I've never had a problem ending a song. Like it's other than like some songs, like it's just hard to find the part that meshes.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've never had that problem. And some guys really struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just musical. But editing overall is very rhythmic.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you got to be able to feel the rhythm of a scene. And obviously, if you're editing to music, you have to be able to feel like the rhythm of that music and be able to mesh that to your piece. But editing has a rhythm.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're watching something, especially something well produced, like it has a flow and it has a rhythm that's consistent within itself.
Yeah.
And good editors have that inherently. Like they can feel when something needs to cut, when something's too long, when something's too short, and they understand how, you know, leaving things longer has a certain kind of emotion to it, and cutting things shorter has a certain type of emotion.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't have that rhythm, it can be really hard to like figure out how to make things mesh.
Yeah.
But I thought about maybe playing the bagpipes. I think that'd be fun.
That seems like a very rare instrument.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've wanted to play an instrument. I picked up the guitar when I was like in middle school and high school.
You look like you could play the bass though, Ryer. You look like a bass player. You're built like a bass player, respectfully.
Respectfully. Yeah, I mean, I think I like the bass from the standpoint of like, you know, the drums, I don't have that much rhythm.
Yeah, you can't get all 4.
No, I cannot.
Doing different things.
No, sometimes I do a little drumming on the steering wheel and I get a little lost, try to do something a little too fancy with it, and I lose the whole beat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the whole like separating the hemispheres of your body to do it's not going to work. Guitar playing, like I feel like you really got to be a showman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to be able to put on a show. Like the bass kind of just vibes, man. Like you're just sitting back there
grooving.
Yeah, you just grooving. And that's like when I listen to music, or like if I go somewhere where there's live music, like that's kind of my instinct.
Yeah.
It's like I just like to groove. And I feel like I've got the steady rhythm to keep like the rhythmic part of the bass going.
Yeah.
But also I think I got like the vibe.
Yeah.
Or I could just kind of sit back there and do a little bit of this, you know, kind of get into it.
Yeah. I was going to say too, like you don't, after knowing you for the 10 months that I have, you don't give off the energy of like a lead guitarist who like has to be up front, just like ripping solos and kind of like you said, that like real showy,
Yeah.
that showy vibe. I mean, you seem like you'd be content being in the back, just like, yeah, me and the drummer, we're, you know, standing in the pocket, we're the
Yeah.
the backbone, we're holding it down back here, you know, we're
Mhm.
vibing, doing our own thing. I could definitely see that. Now,
Yeah.
you might have to unlock a new level of showmanship if you do break out the bagpipes.
Nah.
I don't think you can be very like subtle with one of with one of these.
It's certainly not subtle, but like, you know,
I guess.
when people are playing the bagpipes, they're just stood. You know what I mean? They're not doing a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see them really running around the place.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think in order to be a lead guitarist, like, you really got to be able to work a crowd.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really have much interest in that. Like, I do like performing. I did enjoy that when I was in choir.
Oh yeah.
But like, I was just as fine being in the chorus as I was having solos.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's kind of what I do now. Like, or you do it too. I mean, you're as an editor, especially as an editor, you basically don't exist.
Yeah.
Like, I don't exist. People don't know that I exist. They see all the work that I do, but they don't know like that there was a person that did that.
Yeah.
Like 9 times out of 10, a lot of the viewing public thinks that, you know, whoever was getting filmed edited what it was that was getting filmed.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I've
Like-
heard people think that like the camera edits.
Really?
Yeah. I've heard a couple people think.
I wish.
Yeah, oh, I know, dude. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I like videographers get a lot of not a lot, like more recognition.
Yeah.
Right? If you think about when somebody watches something, they notice like the shots and if they look cool and if it was shot well, they'll be like, man, whoever filmed that did a really good job. And then like, yeah, I'm over here as the editor. I'm like, well, I took all the footage and
Yeah.
took out all the bad stuff and made it into this, but people don't really know. Like, think of all of the movies that you've ever seen. Most people can name the actors. That's the most common, obviously. They're on the screen the whole time. Some people can name the directors. That's pretty common. Like, you could say, yeah, this was directed by Steven Spielberg or Michael Bay or Quentin Tarantino or whoever it is. The nerds can tell you the DPs, right? The guys who are in charge of the cinematography. Nobody knows the editor.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows the editor. I mean, I think people know that films get edited inherently, maybe.
Yeah.
I would think. I think that it's common knowledge, but also I edit, so I know.
Right.
But most, like, nobody can name the editor. Like, who edited Star Wars?
Couldn't tell you.
I don't even know. You know? Like, as an editor, you're just kind of like in the background.
Yeah. It's a thankless job sometimes, man.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be, as an editor, I think, really content with just like seeing people recognize your work, but not recognize you.
Yeah.
And I think,
That's a good point.
you know, it's like when I go and like people are really vibing with a video, like nobody's like, man, the editor did a really good job. That's a very rare comment.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get that. You might every once in a while from like industry people, right? Like you and I recognize that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. And honestly, that's the way that it should be, you know, like kind of like a bass guitar. You can tell when it's not in the mix, but sometimes you can't necessarily tell that they're holding it down back there. Like if you were to remove the bass guitar, you'd be like, man, something's missing in this song. Like it doesn't have something, you know?
Right.
But no, like sometimes it's just kind of there. It's like this foundation. And, you know, I think honestly, that's the way that it's supposed to be. Like if you do a good job as an editor, nobody should know that you did anything.
Mm-hmm.
It should feel to them as if they just watched something and it was so cohesive and so solid, and it affected them so subconsciously that they have no idea that all of the little things that you did to make them think and feel or look or do something a certain way, like it should be invisible. And sometimes I think editors, like, they really want people to know that there was editing. And sometimes they're real flashy with it. Yeah. And it's like, you'll be watching something, all of a sudden it's just like, boom, flashy edits. You're like, that came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. The whole purpose of that is like, they want people to know that they edited, like somebody edited it, so that somebody hopefully will be like, man, that was a cool edit. Nobody does.
The video starts. Shot by Ryer Porter.
Yeah. I don't know who were we like.
It was like on your explore page on Instagram or something. Or no, you had looked up like an example, and they had what'd you call it?
It was a producer tag, dude. Yeah. We were looking up, so we put out this like timeline thing for Mammoth, which Joe and I'll have to talk about. But we were looking up like other people who had shown off like the sound design to see like how they had done it, see if we could get some ideas on how we could do it. And some guy had a producer tag, which is, if you don't listen to rap, like, that's really common in rap songs. Like the producer, the guy who like makes the beats, will have a producer tag. And I've never, not once, seen it in a video. But this guy had...
That was the first time I've ever heard of one.
Yeah.
It really caught me off guard.
I don't even...
like, what was that?
Yeah, I don't even know the dude's name, but it was like this... It was really like... So it was like a car video or something. And before it starts, it was like some lady whispering. It was like, edited by Jay Weezy. And then it goes into it, dude. And I was like, what is... That was a producer tag for an edit, bro.
Well, I remember you stopped it and we like both looked at each other and you were like, was that a producer tag? I was like, yeah. Yeah, that was.
It was very strange. Don't do that.
Yeah. Let's not do that. I don't want to start doing that on our stuff either.
Edited by Red Velvet. I would make it like the most obnoxious, disgusting, like just all like, think radio ad, but in front of an edit. Like, edited by Red Velvet. And then into it.
I dig it. I think that I like it.
Maybe I'll use that. I'll pull that clip.
Yeah.
I finally found, which I didn't know this. You know, what song is it where they sample Will Ferrell? And he's like, nobody knows what it means, but it gets the people going. It's provocative. You know that song?
No, I have no clue.
Really?
Yeah.
You know the song.
Possibly.
But anyways, I didn't know what that came from. Like, I always thought it came from Step Brothers, but I never like heard it in Step Brothers. Like every time I watched Step Brothers, I never heard it. And so I was like, maybe it's in a different one. It's from Blades of Glory, which maybe means nothing to you.
No.
But I didn't know. I was literally watching the preview for Blades of Glory on Netflix because it's like coming soon or whatever to Netflix. And I like to scroll through and watch like the previews and see what's coming. And it's like he's like walking on this treadmill and he says it and somebody sampled it, put it in a rap song, and it's super famous now. But anyways, got way off topic.
It's been a very like all over the place podcast, man.
Yeah, I don't even know how. It's only been an hour 13. That's not bad.
Oh, that's cake.
So we've covered who. I haven't got you to like really break out into a fit of giggles yet.
No.
Thing is, with that, like,
it's
you
not
don't
like,
ever,
dude, if you talk about
you can't. That's why it is the way it is, because it's not like there's a certain thing. You can't be like, I know what'll get Luke. Dude. It's always what you like. Most of the time, it's you say. It's like this is what happens. I'll say some one-liner, and Luke will just bust out, and I don't even think it was that funny. I didn't even think it was really that funny, and he's over there like keeled over, dying, and then he tries to compose himself, and then has to walk away.
No, what really gets me is laughing in like the borderline inappropriate moments. of like, and that's usually when it happens is,
Oh, when you're not supposed to laugh?
yeah, like you'll be mad about something and you'll say a one-liner and I know that you're mad. And that it's like the fact that I know I can't laugh or it's like super quiet and I shouldn't laugh right now just gets me, dude.
Oh, it's like when you like are in school and you look across the road at your buddy and you're like,
Exactly.
and he's over there like,
Yeah.
and then you just break out laughing.
Yeah, that's what gets me.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. It'll happen. We'll get it on one of these podcasts.
Yeah, eventually. I plan on being around long enough for as long as y'all don't fire me.
It's out of my hands.
I don't know. The good news is I've made it through my probation period.
Right.
Yeah, the first 6 months.
Was it an actual probation period?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we did that.
Yeah. I think you're the one that told me about it.
If I told you, if I told you about it, I was lying.
I don't know. No, I think Caleb was like, yeah, you got 6 months and then your probation will be up. He definitely leaned into it because I didn't just make that up. You were taking advantage of little 20-year-old Luke. I had already been deleting sequences and losing projects, and you're going to turn around and tell me I have a probation period.
You believed it, dude.
Yeah, I did believe it.
You should know better than that.
Yeah. But see, I picked up on some stuff, and it was a lot worse at the beginning of me breaking out laughing because there was a lot of especially from Caleb, a lot of new phrases
Oh, yeah.
that I had never heard.
Oh, yeah. A lot of new phrases.
Yeah. Like hung up like two dogs. I
Mhm.
never heard that before I got here. I said that when I was deep sea fishing with my buddies. And like we had our fishing lines tangled up, and I was like, man, we're hung up like two dogs. And they were like, what? Like, what just came out of your mouth? I was like, hung up like two dogs. They had never heard that before.
See, that's surprising to me because I don't know a lot of the phrases, but that's because I grew up in Colorado. And like, my mom was from California, my dad's from Pennsylvania. Like, we're not, it's a full northern family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like,
Well,
we had sayings, but not like that. But then I come down here and Caleb's saying all these things. I'm like, what are you saying?
yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. Well, apparently there's a big difference between Dahlonega, Georgia and Montgomery, Alabama.
Apparently.
Yeah. There's been a lot since I've been working here of little phrases that I've never heard before, but that are really funny.
Yeah, Caleb breaks one out every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've heard a lot of them now, but every once in a while he gets one. I'm like, what did you just say? And usually it's a combination of he said it. If he listens to this, he'll be like, oh, I have an accent. He says it with an accent that kind of like makes it hard to understand what the words are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I know what you're talking
And
about.
he says he doesn't have an accent, but like when you go somewhere and they're like, where are you from? You're not from here. It means you have an accent.
Yeah.
Me and him get in arguments about this. You're like, oh, I have an accent. Yes. Yes, you do, Caleb.
Yeah.
Does Caleb have an accent?
Yeah. I'd say Caleb has one. But the thing is, like,
I mean, you have an accent.
yeah, to a certain extent. But again, it's just being from the South. I know that we have an accent. Like, I think that you don't necessarily sound however I would envision a dude from Colorado or California would sound. But you also don't sound like, oh, how you doing, bud? Like super northern accent.
No, I mean,
I guess you've kind of picked it up.
I have picked it up. Like, I've definitely picked it up.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if I had moved to Atlanta, I probably wouldn't have picked it up.
You don't think?
No. Because you go down to Atlanta, people don't really have, like, it's not as southern.
I guess.
You know, like, it's a big city. There's people from everywhere.
Yeah.
But
even like Joe doesn't sound super northern to me.
no, I think probably, like, I've definitely picked up like a little bit of a twang.
Yeah.
But like the same thing happens to me. Like if I were to go to, like I went to Scotland and Ireland, and like just being around Scottish and Irish people for a week, I like started to talk like that. If I go to like Michigan, I'll start sounding like I'm talking, like I'll start saying things. And it's not because I'm like trying to copy people. Apparently this is ADHD. I come to find out like ADHD people do this, but it's like your brain just like hears it and starts to integrate it. And so I'll be talking and I'll be like, why did I say it like that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So obviously being around, like, especially this area of Georgia where people still do have accents,
Yeah.
like, I think I've definitely like picked up some of it. I think probably what would give me away is how fast I talk.
Yeah.
Not the accent, it's how fast that I talk.
Yeah. People in the South tend to have, slower,
Yeah.
like real drawn out kind of talking.
Yeah, I mean it.
Which, knowing the way your brain works, dude, I bet that frustrates you so bad. Like, you can, in your mind, you can finish their sentence
Yeah.
5 business days before it comes out of their mouth.
Yeah, I'm not a real patient person, so sometimes it could be hard.
Yeah.
Like, especially like the thing I've had to get used to, and this is not just in the South, this is everywhere. I think this is more of a rural thing. Like, you go hunt some like old timers property, right? And you go morning hunt, and then you get in your truck, and he's, out on the tractor or whatever. And
Yeah.
so you're driving away, and obviously you're going to stop and say hey and talk to him. And then, like, in 2 hours,
Oh, yeah.
like, you don't ever get to leave. It's just 2 hours you sit there. And it's like, I never had that really growing up because, like, I lived in the suburbs of Colorado. So, like, I wasn't around a bunch of, like, rural people. And that's just normal and natural. Like, I think when you're not around, like, a ton of people all the time, when they're, like, you are around people, you want to sit, talk to them, see how things are going, and
Yeah.
talk about this, that, and the other thing. Especially, like, some of those old guys, I don't really get to talk to people that much.
Yeah.
So, like, when there's people around, they want to talk to them, which I would too. But, like, you go to a big city, like, nobody talks to each other.
Yeah.
Nobody talks, like, in the elevator. You don't talk nothing,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's just people are friendlier and actually want to talk to other people. When you're smashed up against, a million people every day, you're like, I don't really want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But
That's fair.
I have had to get used to the Southern goodbye, which,
All right, now I'm gonna let you go, and then you keep talking for 30 more minutes.
it's like you just follow each other outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, all right, gotta go. And then you get up and you, like, walk 5 steps, and then you start talking again. Like, okay, I really gotta go. Just try to keep easing there.
Yep.
But, it could be worse.
That's right.
People could be like, get the hell out of my house. Tired of you being here. Let's see. So we've covered your background a little bit, covered musicianship.
Yep.
Covered where you draw inspiration from. I asked Chris this question and made him think a little bit. So I want to make you think a little bit.
That's a dangerous game.
It is. We're going to play it.
Okay.
What drives you as a creative? Like, what really gets your gears going? Like, if you had to put your creative philosophy down on paper, what would you say?
Wow. That is, yeah, that'll get your gears churning. I really don't know. I mean, is it too cliche to say that, like,
Nothing's a cliche if it's how you think.
say the question one more time for me, please?
What is this, a spelling bee?
Yeah.
You want me to use it in a sentence?
Yeah. What is a country of origin?
Language of origin. Iridocyclitis. You know that one? Yeah.
You said what
So
inspires me?
not
No.
what inspires you. Like, what's your creative philosophy? Like, what is your, what drives you to be creative? And what do you try to accomplish through your creativity? Like, for example, me, I would say my creative philosophy is I want to impact people with stories.
Yeah.
I want to make them think and feel, whether that is, you know, as simple as somebody saying, man, I really felt like I was on that hunt. Like I felt like I was standing right next to you
Yeah.
or that guy. Or, man, that really made me think about this or made me feel this way. Like I want the work that I do to not just be filler content for people to look at and never think about again. I want it to impact people on an emotional and a mental level.
Yeah.
So that's my driving force behind everything that I do.
Yeah.
So what would you say yours is?
I don't know, man. That's a tough question. I don't know. That's kind of something I've really, I guess, never thought about before. Almost like, I really don't know, dude. Which is probably terrible that I can't give you give you a good answer. But I really don't know. I mean, obviously, like going into a project, like I'm wanting to create something that I'm proud to put my name on
Mm-hmm.
and that, represents me and the company well, but also is something that obviously the client likes, something that, I mean, not to steal your answer, but yeah, I mean, this is a terrible answer, dude, on my part. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you want to make people,
What gives you satisfaction about the creative process? Like when you make something,
yeah.
what is the best compliment that you can get on that thing to you?
Okay, well, here. So I think, I feel like you can answer that question based on a very like long form perspective. Like you do a lot more of
Yeah.
YouTube edits and doing, a web series or whatever that may be, more long form stuff. I know that since I've been here, I feel obviously doing MSS and stuff like that, I've done a lot more short form stuff. And so I guess my answer to that would be I know that a lot of social media content is very flash in the pan. You see it one time, it's like, oh, that's cool, like it, move on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I guess to me, what's satisfying or whatever, like a compliment is whenever somebody can not just watch it one time, I guess, is like it stands out enough or it moves them enough or it's interesting enough that they're like, oh, hang on, like I need to watch that one more time instead of watch it once, swipe, move on, but just because it's social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess trying to find new creative ways to get that result as far as, okay, well, let's see what happens if I, really go all out and try a whole lot of flashy cuts and a lot of masking or whatever, and let's see if that works. Okay, it worked and people, it's getting engagement and it's doing well, then you know that's always good. Which I do know that my satisfaction and in my work doesn't need to come from the results of it, but in a certain regard it does. Like seeing the likes, seeing the engagement, seeing the views and how many times it's been shared and stuff is definitely a factor in there. I don't know if that's kind of an answer that you'd be looking for, but
Yeah.
merge that together with something that I'm proud of, that it's like, yeah, I did that and I'm proud to show that off and put it in a portfolio or whatever,
Yeah.
I guess.
I think that's a good answer. Yeah. I mean, I think, it's kind of the same as like just anybody who makes something.
Yeah.
If you make something and you're proud of it and you think it looks good, and other people say, hey, that looks good. Like, that's really cool. I mean, there's a lot of satisfaction to be had in that.
Yeah. And I guess kind of going back to your answer a little bit too, as far as you saying, you want to be able to move people and like evoke a feeling or a emotion and stuff. I guess, again, that's definitely more of a long form thing, which, yeah, a reel or, a whatever short form can definitely make you feel something, but
Mm-hmm.
it's it's just different, you know.
Yeah.
As opposed being able to make a 30-minute edit, it's like, okay, well, how do you take all those, like, because the feelings that they feel, you know, can be up and down throughout the whole thing or whatever. So
Yeah.
how do you cram that into a 15-second video of whatever it may be? So I don't know. That's about all that I got from you. But yeah, that's a question. That's a good question. Ask me this next year on the podcast. Like this time next year, ask me, and my answer will probably be different. But that's something I've honestly never thought about. It's like asking, like, who are you? You know, not like what's your name, but like who are you? What's your values? What do you stand for?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's a question. It's a hard question. It's a question that evolves.
Yeah.
Like I think, you know, it's almost like when you talk to people about what drives them to hunt, right? And people talk about the stages
Yeah.
of your hunting life, right? At first, like you just are happy to be involved, especially if you're a kid. You're just happy to be involved, right?
Yeah.
Then, like the goal is like I just want to kill something. Like it doesn't really matter, right? They just want to have success.
Right.
Then you get into that stage where it's like, just want to have a lot of success, you know, like kids will get into the stage and they want to like go kill a lot of deer, go kill a lot of ducks and geese and go like have a lot of success. And then, you know, you'll get to a point where it's like, all right, I've had a lot of success. Like now I want the challenge, which usually manifests itself into large, mature animals.
Right.
Right. And so then, and maybe it's also like instead of rifle hunting, you're bow hunting. And instead of compound bow, you use a traditional bow or something like that. And then usually, like, you'll mature and you'll be like, okay, yeah, I'm satisfied with the caliber of animals I've killed. I've killed a lot of animals. I've had a lot of awesome experiences. And then a lot of that drive for hunting doesn't come from the animal or the animals. It comes from like, you know, the camaraderie that you get from being around other guys or being able to share this with the next generation, your kids or your grandkids. And like at a certain point, a lot of guys say like they have just as much fun, just as much satisfaction as seeing, you know, other people or their kids or their grandkids have success more so than they would if they had killed that animal, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think it's the same thing, you know, creatively. I think, you know, you start out and obviously like your first thing is like making something that you feel is good.
Yeah.
You know, like that you were able to take the stuff and put it in the computer and figure out how to work it, you know, and shoot the camera right and get everything so that it doesn't look like a piece of crap. Like that's your first, you're like, oh, okay, cool. That was cool.
Yeah.
You know? And then after that, like you're trying to be able to repeat that and be able to really expand on that and like make it even cooler and make it even better and really perfect this and you know that goalpost is constantly changing.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that drive ever goes away. Not for people who continually try to get better, right? That
Right.
goalpost is always changing. Once you feel like you've done a good job, and I'm speaking from my experience. Maybe there's other guys out there that aren't like this, but once you're like, okay, I've got that figured out, you're like, man, I think I need to work on this thing. Like this isn't as good as I want it to be, right?
Yeah.
And so you get that satisfaction from continually pushing and making better stuff and making more stuff and, you know, finding those improvements. And then, you know, I think at a certain point, just like anybody's general life goals, like when you're a teenager, like what do you want? It's very different than when you're 25 versus when you're 35 with a wife and kids, and then versus when you're, you know, old man, you know, who's lived life. Like what matters to you and what really drives you is very different,
Right.
you know? And so I think the same as a creative, like as you kind of do it and grow and mature, like what you're trying to accomplish changes and also becomes more clear, right? Like
Yeah.
When you're 5, you just like, maybe you want to be a firefighter, like you want to drive a truck, right? And then, you know, you get into high school and you're like, oh, okay, I want a career. Like, I want to figure out what my career is. And then as you get older, you're like, you know, what really matters to me in life is spending time with my family, or, uh, you know, maybe it's building a business, or, uh, you know, obviously with a lot of people who are, um, you know, religious, it's heavily driven by something faith based. Like you want to be able to impact people or reach people or whatever it may be. And it's kind of the same, I think, creatively. Like you kind of go through those stages, and as you mature, you kind of get a better idea of like, what do I care about? Like, what do I value in my work? And it's different for everybody. Like some people, like I said, I really want to give people an emotion. I want to make them think and feel things. And that's because a lot of my life has been affected by, you know, like I used to grow up and watch all of the History Channel and the like the documentaries and all of that stuff. And like so being able to impart that kind of stuff onto people is meaningful to me. And then as I've grown up, like movies that have an emotional impact that's not just, oh, that was a fun movie. Like it makes you think something, it makes you feel something, or a documentary that's like, man, I never thought of that way, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Like I've realized like I want to be able to do that. Like I want to be able to take and be able to have a story and be able to impart onto people something that's more meaningful than just, hey, here's a video. Like I want it to be, you watched this video, but it made you think about something else that impacted you on a personal level. And that's because that's just how my life has been, you know? Whereas other people get satisfaction from like, man, I could pull off that shot. Like that'd be a really awesome shot to pull off. Or if I could pull off this, you know, like cinematographers and guys like that, obviously, like they're driven by really trying to impart meaning into imagery, you know? And so everybody's kind of got a different thing that drives them, you know? And there's people out there that just make freaking super awesome looking stuff. And it's like they're driven by, how cool can I make this? Like, can I make this so cool that everybody's like smacked in the face by it,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes all those different types of people to be able to come together and make something cool and be able to have this basically media culture that we live in, where you can go on Netflix and watch a really cool documentary that makes you feel something, and then you can go on YouTube and like get educated by somebody who's really passionate about something. And then you can go on TikTok and see things that make you laugh or make you go, man, I gotta watch that like 4 or 5 times. Like that was freaking cool,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it evolves as you go along. You kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like and what's important to you. You know, like if you would have asked me 5 years ago, would I want to be editing like long form documentary type stuff, I probably wouldn't have said yeah. You know, I probably would have been like, sounds like a lot of work, dude. Like I don't know if I really want to do that.
Yeah.
But as you go and you make something, you're like, man, that really, like that was satisfying.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps drive that, where you're able to really pin down like, okay, I really like doing that, you know?
And I feel like I can definitely kind of relate to that, and kind of relate to it because, like, before I got here, which I'll go on ahead and tell you now, I do not feel like I was qualified to have been hired here off the rip.
Most of us weren't.
Yeah. And
I certainly was not.
yeah, well, coming into it, I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, these guys do like some serious stuff, like long form, super cinematic stuff. And the longest edit I've ever done is 1.5 minutes fake Tacticam commercial that I did for, my mass comm 210 class. Like, I was kind of freaking out a little bit. And I was like, most of what I do now is social media,
Mm-hmm.
cut vertically stuff. And I was kind of freaking out about it. And one of the first edits that I was handed was that Kansas Sequon hunt,
Yeah.
the like 7-day hunt in Kansas where there was a bunch of encounters, but they didn't kill.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was like, oh my gosh, dude. I was like, I have no. And the fact that they didn't kill too, I was like, this is, really going to make it challenging or whatever. And then,
Yeah.
and I know that edit took me, 5 ever to get it done. But at the end of it, I was like, okay, like I did it. And they didn't
Girl,
have,
I did it.
yeah, I did it. And they didn't have a ton of changes, and it was like proving it to myself that I could in fact do that. And I was like, okay, well, like now that I know I can do that, maybe I can do something a little harder or more challenging and stuff like that. And so yeah, I mean, I'm sure that answer is gonna change, and as I move further along in my creative career. But yeah, I mean, definitely always want to be able to not be able to, well, sorry, let me backtrack. Always want to know that, put my best foot forward and tried my hardest on whatever it is, and, did it justice, but also that I'm moving forward and trying to continue to get better in whatever avenue that is, I guess. So, yeah. And also being able to look back and be like, yeah, like where I was at when I started, like I know that being able to see that growth is also something that's super encouraging, and definitely is very like rewarding um at the end of the day to look back on it and see where I've come, and then be like, dude, this is awesome. Like I wonder this time next year, being able to look back and see that growth, like that is very uh rewarding to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you will. You definitely will. We got 365 days.
Yep.
That's a lot of edits.
Yeah.
That is a lot of edits you can do in 365 days,
Hmm.
or a lot of editing, depending.
Indeed.
Well, we've been on here for an hour and 40. Pretty long one.
Indeed.
You have anything else you'd like to say to the people? Any parting words, wisdom or otherwise?
I don't know. Not really. I hope that this isn't my last podcast, and hopefully I'll be back on in not too long. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's good.
He's very good.
It is good.
Yeah, Joe did one podcast when he first came on. We didn't do a podcast for a
Really?
year. Yeah,
Wow.
that was the last podcast we did before we did these 3.
No way.
Yeah.
No, Joe's been like zoomed in on some,
Oh, yeah, maybe.
because I know I watched some of those. That's
Yeah.
another, well, we don't have to get into it. But anyways, the 10 days of whenever it was like I knew that I was moving up here and I was going to start, again, I was having like an oh crap moment of holy cow, I really think that I don't know like hardly anything, especially because Caleb, when we were talking up here, was throwing out terms that like I'd never heard before. And I was like, dude, I legitimately don't. I was like, smile and wave, boys. Like I knew nothing, dude. And so he told me about the Redneck Tech podcast. And so for those 10 days where I'm freaking sweating my rear end off in these attics, I was listening to the Redneck Tech podcast, and I would have it propped up. Like I would either watch it, like, the visual on YouTube, or just listen to it on Spotify. And I learned a lot through that. So y'all did a good job. It kind of gave me a good crash course on some stuff
Good.
for that. But yeah, I know that Joe's been on a handful of them.
Well, maybe just the last one, he was on it.
Yeah, probably.
Well, dope. Well, folks, that is our episode for today. Yeah, always bad at ending these. And every time I say I'm bad at ending it, which I guess that's my consistent ending.
Yeah.
Anyways, you can find this podcast, which we forgot to say these other 2 podcasts. We're a little out of practice, folks. We'll get better. Working out some kinks. You can find, if you're listening just on audio, the podcast is also on YouTube if you want to look at us while we talk. If you're on YouTube and you're tired of looking at us while we talk and you would prefer just listening to the silky smooth timbre of both of our voices, you can find this on wherever you get your podcasts. We've got an Instagram page at Redneck Tech Podcast, and the company page is at Cope Creative. So we're trying to be a little bit more active on that one, showing off a little bit more of our work. So if you guys are like, who are these guys? Why the heck are they talking about like they know things? You can go on there and see for yourself whether or not you think we know what we're talking about. If you think we don't, then I guess bye. But if you think we do, sweet. But we're always trying to get better, always trying to improve, and hopefully we'll be doing more of these. So thank you all for tuning in. Sorry it's been so long. We're trying to do better, I promise. We did 3 podcasts today. I've been sitting in this attic since 10 a.m. It is now 8 p.m. Started the first podcast at 3:30, and we've been podcasting ever since. So trying to get ahead of the schedule. Obviously, once hunting season comes around, it's a little difficult, but we'll do our best. But we will see y'all next time on the Redneck Tech Podcast. Peace.
Roll the outro.